So next up, we're going to be checking out Rain World Review, You Will Not Survive, by Jay the Red. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know anything about Rain World. I've been told there's a lot of procedurally generated and very in-depth AI on character models or enemy models where their individual limbs are controlled separately, and I have no idea what that functionally means. And everything I just said, I literally just learned from live stream chat in the previous 10 minutes. How that works functionally, if that's good, if that's bad, we don't know. And by we, I mean anyone watching me at this time, because I have no idea what we're doing here. Also, yes, I just did use the royal we. We, as a YouTube, will now watch the video. I'm not going to do that again, because that sounds super dumb. As opposed to what I usually say, which is average dumb. Very different. Basically, something about a slug cat, and it's a really weird game, but that kind of makes it cool. Is that true? Well, let's find out.
Have you ever heard of the game Super Mario, but thought that it looked too lighthearted and fun? Instead of collecting coins and crushing turts, would you rather be eating bugs and getting devoured by flesh-eating grass? Are you excited?
I don't even know where this is from, but I'm assuming Florida. Also, flesh-eating grass. Okay. That was a thing I wasn't expecting to hear.
About the changing climate and upcoming fall of civilization? Do you wish that centipedes were bigger and could fly?
I'm sorry. Are there people who wish that? Even as a joke, no.
Do you think that the end of Evangelion could have used more worms?
There's probably someone who doesn't.
And seen a squirrel get flung by one of those.
Hey, I remember that video. I've also seen him do it in person.
Recover, a hawk swooped in to eviscerate the poor thing and thought, "Damn, I wish that were me."
What?
Well, do I have just the game for you?
What the hell am I getting into here, man? Oh yeah, we are like a cat slug. I'm assuming that's the main character.
I don't really know where to start with this game. Describing Rain World as any less than a 2D platformer, survival, immersive sim, horror rage game seems disingenuous.
Horror rage game.
But what the fuck does any of that mean?
It looks like it's a game I'm not going to play because it requires skill. I don't do that. But very fascinating.
It's going to take some time to unpack, so let's start simple with the
presentation. Well, he climbs down the line.
Damn it, this isn't starting simple, is it? Usually I can kind of hand-wave this
section with
some
sideways
convenient comparisons, but that can't really happen for Rain World. Sure, the actual art style is pixel art, and there's plenty of other games with beautiful pixel art to point to, but Rain World's exact style is unique.
Oh, you actually see like a little slime thing graffiti here. Weird buildings. It looks very post-apocalyptic.
The environments, beyond being beautifully drawn, are relatively straightforward.
Why is the grass blue?
Rain World's setting is post-apocalyptic, and as such you're not walking over hills or through natural caves. Instead, the environment consists of decayed concrete and ancient machinery that is broken, rusted, and otherwise ruined by time and the unbearable pressure of the rain.
Oh shit!
Because of this, a lot of places...
Okay, so I guess Rain World actually just dumping murder rain on you makes sense.
You crawl around and through are mostly just brown and gray. That doesn't mean that it's not interesting to look at.
And you stick out for being
over
big and white.
With compacted metal, platform on top of steel beams, and climb up the rebar that once built this place. The purpose of these machines you platform around have been mostly lost to time, but they're just enough familiar elements for you to maybe piece together a few recognizable objects to clue you in on what these places used to be. The locations you visit are very distinct from each other with their own visual styles and terrain patterns. And without spoiling anything, these locations can get a bit strange.
How so?
While generally color is reserved to make creatures and items stand out, there are still brightly colored plants that grow from between the cracks. And often you can see colorful graffiti remaining from the long-dead civilization you wander through.
Is that a blob monster eating things and like has sweat drops coming off? And there's a stick man over here with a tail. What is going on?
Or more recent paintings made by creatures that now make this place their home.
Someone got
creatures are where things get a bit more complicated. They're still drawn with pixel art, but they're not just simple sprites. Rain World uses procedural animation to bring their creatures to life.
How does that
the pixel art is stitched on top of a rig that physically interacts the environment dynamically, meaning that the AI has to actually drag itself through the world and doesn't just have a looping GIF walk cycle.
Oh, so that's what they meant. It's not actually... It's moving through the world the same way the character model is moving through the world, which is more close to interacting kind of like a I Am Bread, where everything has to connect without nearly as much rage elements, is what I would say, except they mentioned rage game earlier.
This grants them a great sense of weight and believability as they too must clamber over the same terrain as you, because of course your character isn't exempt from this either.
Oh.
Sometimes you really have to be mindful of how you position your body, as you can get stuck on both bits of terrain and the bodies of other creatures.
Corpse blocking
This is what
only
makes
path.
the game unique and uniquely annoying sometimes. This physics-based AI system does mean that the creatures get a little weird occasionally, but creatures get a little weird in real life too.
I'm going to say something that is probably going to piss people off. Every time you cite real life for, well, it was so weird, it happened in real life, it can happen in the game. Terrible option. Real life is almost always going to be weirder, more random, and much more psychotic than anything fiction-based. Because most things in fiction, they make sense. There's something in there that is going to be like, okay, that happened because of this. Where in real life, random shit exploding, you have no idea why, and you'll never find out, is actually a thing that you just roll with because you're not going to find out. And I'm not entirely talking about a joke of what exploded. It could be any random thing. Some hawk randomly swoops in and takes someone's headpiece off and no one notices for the next hour because they're all ignoring this person to start with, and yet somehow their entire personality is based on the headpiece that's now moosing. Sure, that sounds like bullshit. It's so incredibly stupid that if you wrote it in there exactly like that and had no explanation and no foretelling, it would be dumb. But in real life, yeah, it could definitely happen. In gameplay, this seems like it's more unexplained, so they could probably get away with a lot more, but I hate the example of, it happened in real life, because it doesn't work. You need to have a reason for almost anything you do. Random bullshit doesn't really work in anything where you need to believe that it's real to do it. Not as bad in gameplay, but it's still there, so not always a good excuse. Although I'm thinking that's more just on how he's explained more than anything else, so maybe I'm a bit overreacting. Certain rage things hit me whenever I hear that example, and this is very much how I feel about it. Also, David Gates, one, thank you, two. A game I think you might enjoy called In Stars and Time. I've actually seen that come up. You just finish it. You personally recommend playing it. It's a bit of a time sink. I've heard of that game. I think it even came up, and I might have downloaded a prologue for it or a demo, and then I never played it.
The actual visual design of the creatures is superb, even if they're mostly just silhouettes.
All
Everything in
feels
this
like
world
kind of
seems to be at
blob
least a
movement,
bit
though.
biomechanical. All the way from the lizards with their sparkling neon colors to the
Oh!
horrifying tortured abominations of hatred that exist only to kill. Rainworld's creatures
Yeah, it all kind of has that floaty aesthetic that rigging looks like. It's like when you're trying to make things work in VR chat. It has that aesthetic to how they move.
are rendered enough to give them a unique shape, but are left ambiguous enough to leave some of their stranger parts up to imagination.
Ugh.
Also, fair warning, if you have arachnophobia, I think this game will just straight up kill you.
What?
So, you've been warned.
Horrible fucking spiders? Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Oh, God, nope. There's a line. And this is the Australia warning. You don't fuck with that, man. Oh, Aura, you mentioned you would second Veilfisk recommendation, especially the 5D diplomacy with multiversal time travel. Those are a lot of words that I have no idea how they all work together, and I'm kind of curious.
Rainworld's sound design is relatively simple, but solid. Just about every creature makes a distinguishable noise, and you can tell roughly where that noise is coming from if they're off screen. Everything sounds good and as you would expect. The real outstanding thing is the music.
Oh, you can throw
It's
things.
not omnipresent. In fact, I'd guess that about half the time you're left alone with your thoughts. It only seems to consistently pick up whenever you first enter a new zone, playing the area's theme for a few minutes before fading out, helping set the tone for the region. I do really enjoy the game's music.
Wait. So the tone actually is not always there in the background. You actually have moments where it goes
For a
silent.
few minutes before fading out, helping set the tone for the region.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I do
fascinating.
really enjoy the game's music whenever it pops up, and I'd say that its sparseness helps make it stand out.
Now, that's actually fascinating because that's a very different game design than almost anything else I've seen. Usually, there's always some level of music to give you a sense of the setting. And not having it, even though it fades in the background, is a very unique choice because it's actually kind of telling. Most games, when you don't have the music, they're still good, but the music sets the tone so much that not having it becomes a massive inflection point. But here, if there's natural moments where the music cuts out altogether, they're not telling you how to feel with those audio cues. Oh, that's actually... I wonder if this would make some levels more or less interesting if they actually put it side to side in a test. I mean, if it has a steady fan base, I guess it works, but I'm kind of curious how that would function out in actual testing. At Mega Man Land Prime, you mentioned, did you see season 2 and 3 of Sister Leveling, the solo leveling abridged? Oh God, I did not know there was a season 2 and 3, so no, I did not. Oh,
the other instance music will appear is if there's a predator about, where danger music will begin to play.
So it goes quiet
subtle,
until
just
you
warning
need to be
alert,
hyped.
but if you get spotted into a chase, it picks up, and man, is it good.
Oh, that's the chase music? That seems so chill, though. Yeah, they all... Yeah, I could see as they're all kind of just blobbing around everywhere. Nothing really seems to be moving. It's just flailing in direction of...
If you can't afford Rain World but still want its aesthetic experience, I recommend putting on some electronic ambient music and go crawling through a landfill being chased by the junkyard dogs. Or just take a walk through Detroit, whichever is easiest.
That's not fair. This part of Detroit, they're very expensive. Yeah, South Detroit, I drove through it once. There was a tree growing in the middle of the road. I don't mean in the middle of the median between the sides. I mean in traffic. You had to dodge around it. And it wasn't a small tree. It wasn't a sapling. It was like maybe 5 years of growth on that thing. Then you hit North Detroit and it's like, oh, wow. I see how I am now way too poor to breathe the same air here. Unironically, I put a picture up of exactly what I'm talking about on my community tab about one of the things we walked into. Family had a wedding. We went there. We walked around in one of the malls. There was a store that we thought was super expensive selling $300 baby clothes. And then we went to the store next to it and found out, oh, that was the cheap store because they had a white tank top t-shirt for $1,000. And next to it was a dress that I thought looked like it was falling apart, but apparently cost $12,000. And it was just on a rack, not a fancy one. It was the side product that had no cameras on because they weren't worried about it being stolen. Yeah, talk about disparity on that one, man. Again, the picture of said dress is still on my YouTube channel in the community section. Goddamn.
In Rain World, you play as a pathetic little worm creature called a slug cat.
Oh, it's actually a slug
You
cat.
have the abilities of both slug and cat. You can climb up poles, slide through pipes, catch...
You bat at string?
bats, eat mold, use weaponry, and die horribly.
Other than the last one, that basically sounds like a standard cat, yeah. Including the weaponry. Some people might not understand that. For all of you cat owners out there, you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm aware.
This forms the base core gameplay of Rain World, which is a platformer. Through the entire...
Also, I'm being told in chat, according to Bill Arson, fun fact, death isn't permanent in Rain World, and so the respawns are canon. Oh. And I'll just mention, specifically 5D chess and diplomacy with a multiverse time travel. Read your previous comment for the context. Oh. Video essays and paleontology video essay. Oh, was not expecting that.
Game, your ability to survive and progress is mainly determined by your ability to jump good.
That's why I would fail.
I do not jump good. One bad move can mean death, which means that I died quite a lot. If you would like, you could take note of how many times I die in this video, because I will not be reusing any death clips. It may be hard to tell the difference between a few of them, but trust me that they are separate and I'm just consistently bad. This game's difficulty is brutal, to say the least. All it takes is one bite from just about anything and you're sent back to your last shelter, unless you're very lucky, somewhat prepared, or any better at the game than me. The platforming can get quite challenging on its own, even without the massive jet-powered birds trying to snatch you out of the air.
Jet-powered birds?
Can take some
oh
time
god,
to get
jet
used to,
birds.
and I still often fuck it up. But can you really blame me here? How was I supposed to predict that I'd be sent plummeting to my death because of this little brick here? This is what I mean by the controls taking some getting used to.
Yeah, I see what he means by rage game. I'm not gonna play this. It looks fascinating though.
It's hard to explain, but it feels somewhat inconsistent when
like
trying
I have
to
no
get
idea
the
what I
slug
can
cat
climb
to
on, what I
cooperate
can't.
with grabbing poles and climbing. Just grab the goddamn pole, you stupid worm. No, not that fucking pole. Where the hell are you going?
Wait, you can climb those things?
I made this jump so easy earlier. Just grab the goddamn fucking ledge. There are all kinds of movement techs you can potentially learn in order to better your chances, which I learned basically
This is a
none
movement
of.
game. It's like
If
free
you do
running as a
master them,
slug.
You can zoom around the level like a crackhead with a sawzall in an unwatched Denny's parking lot. Luckily, all you really need to do to survive is jump from pole to pole, and you'll be fuck.
That
The
pole
game
just
does
eat
mix
him?
it up plenty with new patterns of terrain and a couple new tools for exploration to keep things from getting stale. Yes, it's a grappling hook. I wish I'd kept that for the rest of the game. Level design
Yeah.
is tight, mostly, and actually getting the hang of movement feels great after the initial adjustment period. Most of the time the places you can and can't go are fairly obvious, but sometimes the foreground can be misleading and either make traversable tunnels look closed off or just obscure your position, which leads me to the issue I have with this game. Rain World is a bit of a communication problem.
What?
The game operates by having a stationary camera that switches between rooms as you move.
So in other words, communication is, it probably doesn't tell you how to do it, and it doesn't tell you exactly what you should be able to do because some things are hidden, some things aren't.
This is totally fine for rooms that are small and can be contained within a single screen,
Yeah.
but can become messy in rooms that are larger. It can be disorienting having to track where you're on screen when moving just a few pixels to the left or right in the middle of a platforming area can flip where you need to look. At worst, the camera can obscure danger that is right next to you until you're walking into its mouth. But
Oh,
even
there was
more
something else on the screen. Oh man, I didn't even see that thing. According to Valerian, the grappling hook is very fun. I mean, it's a grappling hook. Anytime there's a grappling hook in a game, it's usually good. And even the bad ones are at least passable.
frustrating is this. Can you tell me the difference between this screen and this screen? This first one,
Background?
if I drop down, it just moved to the next part of the room. This one will instantly kill you if you fall down.
What?
Apparently there's some shadowy smoke or something to tell you what is and isn't a death drop, but
There's
I never
smoke?
noticed it in my gameplay even after I knew about it.
It's this slightly pulsating gradient. I only noticed it going through sped up footage. Oh! Oh, I didn't even notice that at all.
How about this room and this room? Well, in the left room, we cannot move past the screen's left or right edges. But in the room on the right, you can go past either edge. How can you tell? Rain World doesn't just
That
label
would
itself as a
drive me
platformer,
crazy.
though. It's a survival game of sorts. Every 10 to 15 minutes-ish, you will have to find a shelter to hibernate in or get turned to paste by the rain. In order to rest in a shelter, move your respawn point, and therefore generally progress, you need to find food. Most of the time, getting food isn't a big deal. Just find some fruit, bat flies, or elephant's foot and eat enough to fill your hunger pips to
Elephant's
this
foot?
line and you'll be fine to hibernate. Extra food carries over after you hibernate to the next cycle, meaning that you don't need to find as much food to simply survive. The eating part of Rain World survival is relatively easy, as food is not too hard to come by if you know what you're looking for.
But you
If you
still
don't
have
have
to
enough
remember
food
it.
when you hibernate, you begin to starve, and in the next cycle you must fill your hunger more than usual or die, and get your progress reset to before you started starving in the first place.
Ugh.
Only once in my playthrough did I ever starve, and that was because I was stuck in a platforming area with no food for 2 cycles. The real difficult part of survival in Rain World are the predators. The National Geographic kind, not the Disney kind. The
What the fuck was that? Like, this is you
survival in
down
Rain World are
here.
the predators. The National Geographic kind.
Like, there's you. And then there's this thing. I've seen some interesting designs so far, but that's... Goddamn, the first time you see this on the screen, you probably have a major panic attack, man. Because that's like, oh, it has all the teeth. That's not a boss at that point. That's a feature.
Not the Disney kind. The main obstacle in your way
Disney
to
owns
do
Predator?
anything is that you're a small little worm and everything thinks that you make a great chew toy.
Yeah.
There are a wide variety of creatures that want to kill you, each with varying abilities and behaviors that require different tactics to
That would
deal
be the
with.
Leviathan?
The
Yeah.
clearest way to demonstrate this are with the simplest predators, the lizards. They are by far the most prevalent enemy type, appearing in almost every region in the game, with a total of 9 different subspecies that all behave a bit differently.
Oh.
Take the green lizard, the lizard you're most likely to encounter first. They are large, strong, durable, and decently fast, but they are also heavy, clumsy, and stupid. They can be avoided by just climbing up a pole and jumping over them, or by being on the other side of a pit, which they have about 50% chance of falling into while trying to get to you. Combat is an option, but their high health makes it impractical and dangerous. Pink lizards can climb poles, but are slower than green lizards and are much weaker.
Oh.
You can easily outrun them, or if you have a spear and an opportunity, you can kill them with relative ease.
Oh, just one hit.
White lizards are massive pains in the ass because they can cling to background walls, have active camouflage, and a chameleon-like tongue. These
Oh,
fuckheads
jeez.
like to sit
So between camouflage, which, yeah, if I hadn't known that was there already, I think it would just be a background shadow. I would have run into that every time. There's no way I would have seen it.
around transport pipes and kill you before you even have a chance to maybe notice them. They are, however, less prone to
Oh,
actually
man.
pursue a chase and prefer to wait in ambush.
Oh, so only
therefore
ambush.
easy to
And that's why the
lose.
tongue is the thing.
They
When
have
you're
the
beyond
same
it, you're
health as a
beyond it.
pink lizard, so if you do get the drop on one, it isn't super hard to kill them, or at least hurt them enough to get them to go away. Just be aware that lizards you attack and don't kill will remember and will try harder to kill you next time.
Oh! They were allowed to implement that? Sorry, just that's actually very close to the Nemesis system, which I'm only pointing out because that's technically been copyrighted, or sorry, yeah, copyright, not trademarked. So you are not allowed to use anything that has that kind of aspect. This one is only attacking instead of killing, so it might be fine. But that is very close to a very trademark system that I think is held by Warner Brothers right now, and they are not the most litigious company, but very much one of them. I hope they never find out about this because they might consider this close enough to sue. And that sounds like it would be a really good way to destroy this game. This actually sounds really awesome.
Separate from lizards, vultures are also an omnipresent threat. They are large, flying...
I'm sorry, did that actually have like a human head on it? Like, that was... Yeah, it looks like it has a... No, not a human. It looks like it has a raccoon skull. Oh, that is so weird, man.
Also an omnipresent threat. They are large, flying predators that can swoop in at any time wherever there's an open sky. Or just fucking anywhere, I guess.
They can literally fly anywhere. Oh my god. So you're just traveling around. It's like, oh, hey, big open hole. Oh, there's a vulture. Yeah. Also, I'm being told it's because there's... no naming it might not count for the Nemesis system. Hopefully not. It's one of those things where it's probably a small enough game they won't notice it, but let's just hope they never notice.
The only
Easier
warning
never
you
to
get
find
is
out.
a shadow descending in the background a second or two before they ruin your day. They're
Oh,
almost totally unpredictable.
you actually see their shadows.
Sometimes an area you have crossed a half dozen times safely will become a death zone because a vulture has decided to just hang around and not
Oh, that's up there! So the enemies are also moving around randomly and have their own patterns.
leave this
Not
time
just
around.
set areas.
You can't hide from them, so your only option is to run and find a place they can't squeeze into and wait for them to go away.
They can squeeze
Or
in.
if you're feeling brave and have a surplus of spears lying around, you can fight them off with a handful of good stabs. Just be
There's
aware
more
that
than
if you
one?
knock off their mask, you should be ready for a fight to the death. There are a ton more creatures
that is a
you'll
mask
encounter
up as part of
across
the skull.
game, and they all contribute to the thing that Rain World is going for. Rain World's predators, and every creature really, aren't totally predictable. I touched on this with the vultures because they're the most obvious case, but let me explain. They aren't standard platformer enemies that waddle back and forth endlessly. They move around the area in the same way that you do, hunting for prey, fighting each other, and fleeing from bigger predators.
There's
A lizard
bigger.
that killed you in one cycle may not be there the next. This is part of the game's intention to build an ecosystem that you are just simply a part of. This is the thing that Rain World tries, and I think largely succeeds, in doing. You're not the chosen one hero of this story, you're just part of the ecosystem. In fact, pretty low on the food chain. I really enjoy watching all the other creatures interact with each other, sometimes to my own detriment. Everything has its place in Rain World's alien.
Oh yeah, he mentioned grass that eats you. We have seen the grass that is eating him. That is a thing. Is there a storyline to this, though? Oh yeah, there's actually spoiler-free and then spoiler, okay.
Ecosystem. Squid cicadas are these rotund,
What?
buzzing,
Oh, that's- I
mostly
thought that was a
harmless
fly.
and totally ignorable creatures that can be found across the game.
But
They can't directly harm you and you can't eat them, but they're not just set dressing. They
Do
hunt
they
for the
attract
same
something?
bat flies that you do, so you compete with them for food in some instances.
so in other words, while they're not your enemy, they eat the thing you need, so they need to be raced. Okay.
They can also be seen fishing for leeches, which is a good thing for you if they succeed because that means less leeches for you to swim through. Though they're
Oh.
not really the best at doing that. They dance with each other, get hunted by lizards, and if you attack them, they all start trying to ram and generally annoy you, mostly to their own detriment. The more practical use is that you can grab them and hover around with them, which is great fuck. All of this for a
Oh,
minor
there's
creature
things that
you
eat
can
you in the
safely
sky.
ignore your whole playthrough. This philosophy extends to many of the other creatures. Lizards will fight each other for territory or
Oh.
over your body, which might just allow you to escape if you're still alive. Scavengers will move around in packs collecting items, and of course, everything else is also hunting each other. Because of the inherent unpredictability with giving the game's enemies some manner of free will, it can feel pretty unfair at times. Enemies can and will hang around necessary transport pipes, making progressing through them very difficult or just impossible. Most
That last one sounds more like a break than anything. Like absolutely impossible to move through. I almost wish they would put like a code in there so they didn't go specifically there. But I guess if they're going more free will, a part of the ecosystem, just being fucked is part of it.
of the time, the game's map is actually designed around this,
Oh.
offering several different routes through them to circumvent dangerous
And that's how they
rooms.
get
But
around it.
Sometimes there really
Options.
is no other way, and sometimes you just don't get a chance to try. This is why I consider Rain World to be a rage game, to a degree. If you're unfamiliar with the
do
concept,
everything
a
right
rage
and
game
still
is
fail.
basically a game designed to be frustrating to play. Typically, they have one simple to understand movement system that is very difficult to master, with punishment for failing being a severe loss of progress. Think Jump King, Getting Over It, and to a lesser extent Super Meat Boy. It may be slightly
Lesser extent? Whew. Okay, damn.
unfair to compare Rain World to Getting Over It, but the game definitely frustrated me sometimes. Things can feel completely unfair and out of your control, which is probably what it was going for with the whole ecosystem thing.
Yeah,
but that
you
combined
can't
with how
always
the
be the
game
guy in
handles
charge
road
or the
progression
winner.
can be tiresome. Each time you survive a cycle, your karma increases, and every time you die, it decreases. Connecting every region of the game are doors that you need to hit a karma threshold to open. If you just barely have enough karma to open a door and can't find a shelter before you die again, you're back on the other side of that door with not enough karma to open it again. Then you have to survive to build your karma back up and hope you don't die trying to find food and dig yourself a deeper hole. Usually the game does give low karma requirements for doors in difficult regions, but you can get unlucky anywhere, potentially leading to a cycle of death and frustration that is, funnily enough, actually thematically relevant to the game's story, but
How so? This is probably where he'll get into it later when he talks about the story, but right now I don't know enough about the story itself to know what is the point of progressing other than just to see what's there. And frankly, that's not a bad reason as far as I'm concerned. Having a game where you want to see everything happening is really cool. And honestly, I would love if there were more games where just exploration itself was the entire focus of it. If anything, that's kind of the point of the game journey, which, while there was a story there, just getting to see what came next kind of felt like the entire reward itself.
Let's not get into that. If you manage to keep your karma at max for enough cycles, you gain the Survivor achievement, which, as well as just being a Steam achievement, also allows you to travel through any previously discovered shelter once. You only get to bring whatever item you have in your stomach.
So the big reward is literally to fast travel one time.
At the time, more on that in just a moment. Leaving anything else you had behind in the shelter you travel from. Once you unlock the Survivor achievement, there are a handful of other achievements you can unlock that also give you one fast travel each. I only ever used the fast travel once, because I didn't really feel the need to return anywhere I had been before. But if you just wanted to revisit a fun location, you're going to either have to walk all the way there yourself, or work to get an achievement for a one-way ticket, which is certainly different.
And then if you go far enough back, you have to rewalk it all yourself, and at that point, it's not really worth it.
The fun parts of the ecosystem are why I referred to this game as an immersive sim.
It's also why you only need it once. You're probably not going to use it.
Entombed in gamer culture. An immersive sim
is... Oh god, I remember that picture where the guy's actually taped to the ceiling for extra room to play. Yeah, I would have done that. Hell, I think my family did do that once.
Is roughly a game that relies heavily on consistent systems for the player to exploit as they see fit, providing more player freedom and problem solving, leading to natural or immersive gameplay. That's my understanding of the genre anyway.
This definition is so vague that it could fit like 8% of games, but immersive sims are a separate thing for most games, and explaining the concept as words is so difficult because there is just so much of them, and simple baby work better, so let's do that. Yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, every time I see immersive sim, I basically take it as you have an outcome. And the solution is pick what you like. There's probably at least a dozen that you haven't considered yet.
Prominent examples include Deus Ex, Thief, Hitman, Cruelty Squad, any game made by Arcane Studios.
Yeah, honestly, praise when I was actually thinking about Dishonored. The way I did it was the dumbest way possible. I did the no death run by save scumming every couple feet to walk between enemies without hiding. It was dumb, but it worked, and that is technically one of the ways you can play the game. Never played Deus Ex though.
House Party?
What?
Rain World may not be as deep as Deus Ex's skill sheet, or provide as many tools as Dishonored, or let you take your dick out like House Party, but it does have systems to exploit to tip the scales in your favor and actually progress. Spears are primarily weapons, but they can also be stuck into walls to become short poles to climb on.
Oh!
The uses for this should be immediately obvious.
Climbing.
Though sometimes it feels kind of inconsistent and can be rather inconvenient when you miss a spear throw mid-combat. With a little bit of movement tech, you can also stick them into the ground vertically to get a bit of extra height. And if you're slick enough, you can even stick spears into walls at the end of a jump to clear gaps you otherwise wouldn't. There we go. The game never directly tells you can do this, so I just figured it might be possible given the rules I'd already learned.
And
while
pick
there
them
are
up
a
from
number of
when they're
other
thrown.
tools to finding the environment from rocks to grenades, your inventory is very limited.
God damn! That was a very explosive grenade that bounced back and killed him. Good to know.
You can only carry one thing in each hand and swallow one additional item to keep in your stomach for later. I'm sure nothing could go wrong from swallowing a high explosive. Managing your inventory, as limited as it is part of the challenge and requires you to use what you find around you, or take up precious space on or in your slugcat. These are the most common of the systems provided, but of
One of
course,
those things you should
the more
eat.
interesting ones are tied to the ecosystem. Remember how I said lizards remember if you attack them and become more aggressive? They also remember if you feed them and become less aggressive or even friendly, protecting you from other lizards.
So you can get pets. But how do you know if it's one you've already fed? Because they probably don't attack you.
Knocking a vulture's mask off makes it hunt you relentlessly until one of you is dead, but any unmasked vulture will also be attacked by other vultures. And you can grab the dropped mask to scare off lizards or trade with scavengers. Speaking of scavengers, they're the closest thing the game has to friendly NPCs, and they're very bipolar. The more you trade with
I missed what he said. What is that?
they're the closest thing the game has to friendly NPCs, and they're very
I'm pretty sure this is the exact same scavenger. Oh, so they'll either love you or hate you, and there's no middle ground.
bipolar. The more you trade with them, the more they'll like you and be less prone to spearing you for no reason. However, if there's a diplomatic incident, whether on purpose or accidentally, this will piss off the other scavengers. And if you piss them off enough, they'll start actively hunting you down, which is a problem because of the aforementioned grenades. Let's peel off the final layer of this genre onion. Is this game really a horror game? I mean, it looks cuddly enough. Yes. Yes, it is. At least in some.
No. No. Just no. No, no, no. So many flavors of no. That was all the legs of the... No. He mentioned centipedes. This isn't even the flying one yet.
Places. Rain World can be very tense with its foreboding atmosphere and unsettling monsters, and while it's lacking the typical 80 decibel indie horror game jump scares, there's plenty to be
What is that thing? Oh, no, I don't want to know.
It's no Alien Isolation, but, you know, it's kind of fuck.
Nope, there are way too many bugs in this thing. Oh, God, no. Nope, 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 nope. This is right up there with Alien Isolation. I was actually paid to play that one by chat. It was one of the early donation goals we ever did. I got one chapter in and felt like I was about to have a heart attack because I am that susceptible to that type of atmospheric horror. No.
So what is the actual progression and end goal of the game? Obviously, the moment-to-moment goal is just get food and not become food, but you do have an overall
flying
objective
centipedes.
to push you through the regions. This little yellow fella named Iggy will follow you around and sometimes point you in the direction of nearby shelters and food to help you out.
They
Iggy
actually help.
will also sometimes point you in the direction of the objective. Ostensibly, that objective is reuniting with the rest of your slugcat family, but it doesn't take long for you to find out something else is going on. Going back to the little yellow guy, though, brings me back to the issue. Lack of communication, and that I am chronically stupid.
Yeah, I know that
is
feeling.
incredibly minimal with its guiding, very much on
Symbols?
purpose. Iggy serves as a kind of tutorial entity, displaying holograms showing basic controls and
including the
concepts
controls on
the
the
game.
GameCube
It'll tell you about
or
eating stuff,
PS5?
pointing at stuff that wants to eat you, and about trading pearls to scavengers, but that's about as deep as its instruction goes. All this other stuff I found out mostly from experimentation and the Rain World wiki. Yes,
yeah.
I looked at the wiki while in game.
Honestly,
I didn't
there's
do
a
it
lot of games you
immediately.
need it.
I really try my best to engage with games like this on their level, and I did discover plenty of things organically. But Rain World can be so unclear with what it wants you to do, and totally lacking on instruction of how things, sometimes nigh essential things, work.
So in other words, it wants you to fail, and then find out why you failed, test why you failed, fail again until something works, you're not sure why it works, and try and test until you figure out why it works.
Then it just wore me down eventually. I most frequently had to look up maps, especially in the more maze-like areas.
Oh, so it is actually a standard map. Okay, this is one thing I wasn't sure about. When I heard there was procedurally generated characters, I was wondering if it was a procedurally generated map. But if there's a map for it, that means that there's a consistent one through all of the games. Which, honestly, I would probably have open on the side regardless, because then you know if you're going to fall off and die, or there's more exploration you can do. Okay.
Is when you have no idea which direction you're supposed to go or where the nearest shelter is because Iggy just decided to take the day off for no reason.
Yeah.
The in-game map is... This on top of the already difficult gameplay got frustrating more than once, and so I resorted to looking stuff up. Specifically, fuck the reindeer.
What?
You need them to get across these areas of deadly wormgrass in one specific region, and this is the only time you absolutely need to rely on Rain World's AI to progress. And, as you may have heard, that can be rather inconsistent.
Because they're
fucking
kind of
asshole just decided to turn around a bit short and strand me on this ledge I can't climb up. Why did he do that?
What,
Hell
you
if
can't
I
climb
know.
up that?
I guess I'll just wait for the rain to kill me. You see these little speckled egg-like things? Use them to lure the deer over and grab their antlers, and throw them to attract the deer in certain directions. Nowhere that I've found is this information even hinted at in-game. Even armed with this information, you still just need to get lucky. I get that the lack of guiding is part of the
And a
immersion
random
and
vulture.
service of the whole being part of the ecosystem thing, but at a certain point, frustration is more immersion breaking than a Steam guide. Like I said, this is the issue I have with Rain World. The game is tough, and made needlessly so at some points. So just be aware that the wiki is a good resource if you get stuck or need help dealing with the goddamn fucking... For this very reason, Rain World isn't for everyone. If you state such in the Steam reviews, you get bombarded with clown emojis, but it's true. Not everyone enjoys this kind of difficult, sometimes repetitive, and often cryptic gameplay.
Is there a co-op mode, or you just have two sides of the gameplay at the same time? Probably two sides. Yeah, this is definitely not a game I would play. I love what they're doing, but I don't think I could actually do it. It would just make me rage out way too fast, because it probably requires skill, which I have made many references and various demonstrations to show I do not possess.
Each bullshit feeling death sending you to your last shelter and punishing you by literally locking progression behind gates until you get good enough to survive enough times.
Yeah, I would not make it past one.
This game really is the Dark Souls of platformers. To be fair, I only died to a bug once. I mean a game bug.
Oh.
This. I don't know what happened, but this is the only glitch I remember seeing in all my hours of gameplay.
And you just
so it's pretty
stayed there
unlikely
forever?
to die to this variety of total bullshit. Rain World took me about 26 hours to beat as a survivor. But as discussed, I'm just generally terrible at games. I got stuck at a couple of places, so your mileage may vary.
Oh my
There are
god.
3, and I kinda hesitate to call them this, difficulty levels in Rain World. Each represented by different
The
characters
survivor,
with
the
slightly
monk.
varying storylines and abilities.
Oh,
The default character / difficulty is the survivor. Everything I've said so far and a vast majority of the footage has been from that playthrough. The easy mode is the monk, the yellow slug cat. The monk encounters less predators and remaining ones are less aggressive. They also need to eat less food to hibernate. Karma gates are permanently unlocked if traveled through once. Creatures are befriended and tamed more easily, among a few other minor map changes.
I don't have any relevant clips for this point because I kind of speedran Monk and my OBS kept crashing, but trust me, it says so in the wiki. Yeah, I could... Still not sure I could do that one because platforming in general is my hard part.
However, the monk does less damage with spears than normal, so direct combat is a bit more difficult. Once you beat the game once as survivor, you unlock the hunter. The hunter starts in a different place than the survivor and monk, much
this is why
further
there was
away
the
from
red
the game's
cat.
first objective, and you don't get an observer to guide you at all. Uniquely, the hunter needs to eat meat to survive. No, not batflies, other creatures. You need to hunt squid cata or lizards or centipedes or anything else you can.
Which means you're probably not
Tip
befriending
things ever
them.
so slightly in your favor, the hunter does increase spear damage and can carry a second spear on their back. However, this is offset by the fact there are a fuck ton more things trying to eat you, including hard mode enemies. There are also some shelters available to survivor and monk that just don't spawn for hunter. Also, you only get 20 successful cycles to beat the game or you die permanently and need to restart from the beginning.
Nope. Not even as a joke would I try that. I mean, I also probably would never get to the point of unlocking it, but damn.
You still need karma to open doors. Some vultures have harpoons now. Good luck.
Vultures
No
have
matter what
harpoons?
character you choose, your end goal is always the same, and that goal is lodged deep into the story.
Okay, there actually is a story then. Good. That's the part I just know the least about.
The story of Rain World is,
Dark Soulsian?
hold on, just a
Bad
minute.
to see? Hard to find?
Rain World
Exists, but no one's really
lore.
sure?
1 hour later.
Huh. After researching it, I do like the world building and story. It's unfortunate that in an average playthrough you only get the inscrutable bare minimum. On your usual path, you only get a few scraps of cold, hard lore that barely fit together to form any kind of understandable story, and the ending totally caught me off guard, which I think is the point regardless of how much lore hunting you do beforehand. Not to say it's bad by any means, it's still really interesting, and the little bits of information it does hand out made me want to know more. It's just
I'm assuming there's something horrible that happens and it's just nasty. Yeah. Oh, and Ori, you want to know how many super chats we get to play this game? That's the problem. I have set goals for gameplay before that I thought were absurdly high and no one would ever reach. And then there's always at least one person who drops in and does it. I'm not making that mistake. I am not doing that because someone would probably do it. And I'm not. We're just not doing that.
that getting it naturally is, how do I put it? A goddamn chore. Scattered throughout the world are pearls. Most of them are colorless.
Oh god, it's a
white gray
collection
ones that are
story.
meant to be traded as scavengers. Some pearls, however,
I hate these types. Oh god, no. Sorry, this is a personal thing. I don't mind when you get extra things from finding items in the world, but when the main story is locked behind extra things, ugh, Sorry, I've played so many games where that was actually part of it that I cannot stand them anymore. Someone going into it without having done as many of them might enjoy it, but I can't, man. I just can't.
However,
I'm
are
not the
colored.
person for that.
These colored pearls spawn in fixed locations, often hidden and sometimes
But
requiring
if they're
a platforming
fixed, you could get a
challenge
guide
to
then.
reach.
Okay, that makes it
These
better.
colored pearls are one of a kind, and if traded or
Thought they'd be,
otherwise
like,
lost,
randomly
they'll disappear from your save file permanently. There is one specific place
I'm sorry, what?
traded or otherwise lost, they'll disappear from your save file permanently.
Hi, hello. Would I take 2K to play it? Okay, I mean, yeah, I would gladly take a 2K donation to play this game, but I don't want to set that because then someone would have to play or pay 2K. And I don't want to make someone do that. I mean, there's a reason the upper highest level of membership for me is $10. I don't want someone to pay that much. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm an asshole. I will take the money. But I don't want you to anyone to feel like they should do that. No, fuck that. It's also why I set the thing at Super Chats kind of reasonably low, because a bunch of people can make it. And that also indicates that there's a lot of people who want to do something. But I don't want to make it like, hey, let's give me $20, $100 Super Chats. It's like, yeah, sure, great money. And someone might actually do it, but that's not going to indicate most people. And it's not really a goal that's achievable that I want to promote. I don't want someone to do that. In fact, I would actually tell someone if they did that to take the money back and you can refund it, because you can do that. And I would not complain in the slightest. Do that if you ever do that much money. It's not worth it, man. And I'm also not saying it because people have found it worth it before to make me do things like wear and there's still video of this, pink unicorn onesie while streaming a horror game. That was a thing. Also, it was way too small for me, but my wife loved it, and it was really soft and fluffy for a few years. Eventually, it did just wear down in the wash, so she couldn't wear it anymore. But until then, and when it started to rip apart for some reason, it was actually something she loved, so it kind of worked out. Enemies of this game be like Death Moon God? Yeah.
Take these pearls to get the unique information they contain, and the ability to read these pearls isn't even unlocked until you get to the halfway point of the game.
So you wouldn't even know not to trade them.
Total, and they can be found in every region, including the furthest ones from the reading location. Needless to say, actually going around and finding all of these pearls and taking them back to one specific place on the map with a very limited number of fast travel.
And that's why you only get so much fast travel, because that's how you go back to get them.
And even more limited inventory is an ordeal. I've gotten a couple of these pearls just to see what happens, but I don't think I'll do any more than is convenient. But if you're a true lore hunter and love finding all 28 of Skyrim's Stones of Baronzia, you'll enjoy this.
Did it once, never again, man.
We'll just have to settle for the odd encounter with...
What? Oh no. What are we getting into here?
Rain World is a very interesting game. I truly mean it when I say there's nothing like it. Rain World was developed and programmed by an artist, as stated in his GDC talk, and it
actually makes sense because it is a very beautiful game.
shows.
And all its depression
Despite how
is
punishing
very
and sometimes
cool.
just unfair it is, it's obvious why this game has a dedicated following. It
Yeah,
does.
no, I completely
There's an
get it.
active
Might not
modding
be for
scene
me,
with
but
the
it looks
newly added
good.
Steam Workshop, which is already full of player-made slug cats and deranged man-made horrors. I give this game my official seal
Did that thing actually just have a sarcastic eyebrow up? That's kind of awesome.
of approval, which I don't have, so accept this gold star sticker with good job written on it in Sharpie I found on my desk instead. Recently, the Downpour expansion released, which has a bunch of new slug cats to play as, with more unique abilities, new regions, new story, and official co-op mode, which is all good, because it
Does that mean there's other people? How would co-op? Oh. That might actually be kind of cool, because this kind of movement is kind of something I think multiplayer would work well with.
means to get to see more of this wonderfully crafted,
Because you'd zoom out more.
beautiful setting.
Is that a spider
I haven't played
slug?
it yet, but plan to soon, because it looks like more Rain World, and I kind of like that game. For all 5 of you who care, sorry I haven't uploaded in...
I'm sorry, how many tentacles does this blob have down there? Oh god.
This isn't what I was originally planning on covering next, but it has a confusingly similar name. Subscribe to get it when it comes out. In the meantime, you can forget about me and in a couple months wonder who this random guy showing up in your subfeed is.
Death isn't permanent. Gotta
Goodbye.
remember that part. What the hell, man? I mean, don't get me wrong. Everything about this looks really cool. I am not the demographic who would go into this. I'm the demographic who would very much listen to an entire essay on the various bits of lore in here. And honestly, after this stream, I would not be surprised if I just happen to go out there and find someone pulling up an entire lore breakdown and dump on all the spoilers possible, because I'm absolutely fascinated by the entire world itself. But I would never earn a game. If someone actually decided to get me to do this, I'm not going to be able to play this game and beat it. That's not happening, man. But it would be really cool. There's a lot in this I really want to see. But there's no way I'd ever earn it in play. Basically what I'm saying is, if you haven't already, there's a link below to Jay's video. Hit it up. He did a great job at making this game seem massive and immersive and cool and showing that there is a story there, but he didn't spoil it. And I kind of wish he had, because I'm never going to be able to do this. But it made me want to know more about the game. And that's probably the most important thing that he could have done. And he did it masterfully. So again, links below. Hit it up. Subscribe to this guy. They're awesome. Do that. You did? Great. Glad we had this talk. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.